Good evening and welcome to another day of AI Insanity. Tonight we are going to build something interesting and somewhat new for me. And well, this is like kind of the process of learning and me going at the same pace with somebody who hasn't gone through specific concepts or maybe hasn't played with a specific part of Unity. But this is something that I was curious how to do and I have been wanting to do before. And I chose the application for it to be like something around the margins of the screen, like a danger zone. And I do believe we can do that using post processing, or we can build an actual shader that might have some sort of weird, interesting effect. So we're going to ask GPT and see what its opinion are. Like not only how to get this to the better decision, but to actually see what the alternatives are that we can build. And let me just this is not really collaborating with me. I need to. Okay, where was I'm looking for a setting right now, and I need to make this screen bigger for. No, not this. Okay, let's try something different. No window. Okay, and let's. Okay, let's try something like this for now. Okay, and this one thing opened. What I wanted, I am building a game in Unity 6.3. Was it still 6.3? No, it's 6.2 actually. I didn't update the project. I am looking to create a red pulsing effect around the edges of the screen. Actually, let's give it a bit more context for what we actually want to create. And danger zone effect, I'm not even sure. Shader maybe. I do want to see some references. How do I even look for this? The effects shader for red screen. Okay, this is almost. Yeah, well, my mind is drawing a really big blank tonight. Red pulsing effect around the edges of the screen, like when a character is losing blood or it's whoa there, or it's in extreme danger. What is that effect called? Yeah, the one that says we're about to die. Damage vignette, was that it? Yes, it was. So basically, Oh, so we're trying to build like a vignette or something. Yeah, maybe. I don't know why I didn't create a connection. Also, red overlay, screen edge, red overlay. Let's see. And the way they actually do it in those previous examples was that they are actually using textures and just displaying the textures at different transparencies, different alphas. I do want to create something procedural because why not? I'm curious. Okay, I want to create something procedural. Is it better? And I missed something that I wanted to actually do. Is it better than using texture? Also keep in mind to pretend like a professional with 30 plus years of game dev experience and writing shaders, post-processing and so on. If it's animated, people will say it's pulsing vignette, heartbeat vignette. Okay, that makes sense. What's a vignette? Why do I have the sudden urge to define the term? Yeah, let's not use AI to search the definition of a vignette. Let's use Google to display an AI overview of that search. So yeah, I mean, my reasoning was, yeah, let's not use AI for just the definition, but it's gonna happen anyway at this point. Reducing. So it's about the periphery. Reduction of image brightness or saturation towards the edges compared to the image center. Okay, so we're talking vignette, we're only talking the edges, and let's just see what else it's kind of told us. Full screen overlay or post-processing effect. Okay, post-processing effect with red tinted edges, alpha or intensity animated over time. Unity post-processing stack has a vignette built in. You just tint it red, crank the intensity. Oh, and that's it. That's the big reveal. You're just implementing it the hard way with the UI image or shader because suffering builds character. It does indeed. No, I'm just trying to learn something. Okay, so I want to create something procedural because it didn't actually tell me anything. Yeah, I'm not even gonna go through what it told me. It's too basic, maybe. I'm interested in the real big stuff. Is it better than using a texture for optimizations and stuff? And yeah, I am looking to create something customizable. HLSL, post-processing, or what? What's my options here? So yeah, we are using I'm typing wrong tonight. We are using a vignette to create a sense of danger, like enemies attacking and losing blood, losing points, and so on. And yeah, basically it was telling us it's called the damage vignette, and I was looking for some references that I might have an idea of what's actually going to turn out to be. But let me procedural. Let me just try to see if it can actually have a sense of something. Blood damage effect particles. It says particles, but it looks like a bunch of textures thrown together. Yeah, not. Let's see what's telling us. Procedural, optimized, and customizable. Correct. Building a red danger vignette. We have reinvented the wheel. And yeah, it deserves a dissertation. I mean, we could do something simple, just throw a thing, but I mean, the purpose is to actually learn and see what it can do. Okay, so what is a vignette? A radial follow from the center of the skin towards the edges. Stolen from photography. So darker around the edges. It's all about the edges. Okay. I was looking like blood going toward the center, but yeah. Procedural versus texture. It doesn't matter unless you do it badly. Texture-based vignette is a full screen quad picture, single grayscale or RGBA texture. Multiply it, lerp over the screen. It's simple, predictable, friendly for the artists. Cost is basically zero on modern GPUs, but it is resolution dependent. Like if you are building the game for mobile and you have all this bunch of screens and you have a single texture, it's going to fit only one solution. Customization means more textures or channel abuse. Yeah, because you're embedding like extra information. Feels dirty if you're pretending you're a graphics engineer. Yes, it does actually. One texture sample for performance, and yeah, it's simple. Procedural vignette using a shader math is computing UV distance from center, applying smooth step bow curve, tint and animate in shader. It's resolution independent, customizable, no textures, and scales with whatever else we wanted, posing, directional damage, asymmetry. Of course, we can use multiple textures that are just put together one on top of the other and create animation and customization like that. Slightly more ALU. What? I'm not even gonna bother asking you. What's an ALU? And you're giving me results in another language. Great. Arithmetic logic unit. Okay. Is that? Yeah, I mean more computational power. You could have said that. Harder to tune visually without tooling. Because yeah, there's a bunch of tools that actually can help with the generation of shaders and complex stuff like this. Easy to over-engineer. Easier to over-engineer until it looks worse than the texture version. So performance, a few math operations per pixel, and it's basically nothing for the GPU. Post-processing is already built in. It's fast, easy to implement, but has a limited behavior. And is giving us like HLSL, shader graph, and UI overlay. I just put the UI image and render on top of it. Textured versus procedural does not matter for optimization. The cost is trivial. You pick procedural because it's customizable and it gives you a lot of freedom. Stronger on one side, noise jitter. Okay, so what about doing procedural in post-processing versus procedural in HLSL? HSLS. Oh, I keep pressing the wrong keys for some reason. HLSL. Okay. So what did it tell us on the seniority? Yeah, you pick. So basically the only thing that it's telling us is that you pick procedural because it has higher customization stuff. And design with changes in mind. Of course, this might take actually a programmer a bit maybe longer than an artist. I don't know. And of course, we're not doing an art course, we're doing a shader course, but we could tell AI to just generate the texture and be done with it. Mixing layers. So let's enter what I procedural. Okay, this so procedural in post-processing. Post-processing is where the shader runs. HLSL is how it's written. Yeah, so actually I wanted to ask it something else. Built-in post-processing vignette, which can be tweaked. Shader graph full screen post-processing to create a full screen pass and procedurally compute the vignette. Procedure in HLSL. Write the full screen shader, sample the buffer, compute the distance. Okay, so there's no performance, which is better. I think I wanted to ask you difference between applying HLSL to image on canvas versus post-processing. Yeah, a concrete question. They are not the same thing, even they look identical. And canvas image, this is UI pretending to be graphics, rendering everything, and UI system kicks in after the camera is rendered, and the full screen image draws on top. And the shader runs in UI, like where all the buttons are. And it's easy to hook up, works in any pipeline, no custom render passes, but it's not part of the camera and doesn't interact with all the other settings of the post-processing. Extra draw calls, canvas rebuilds, layering issues. This is acceptable for HUD damage overlays, temporary prototypes, and UI-driven effects. So basically, if you have something specific about the UI, it always feels a little off. Yeah, you're slapping paint on the glass after the picture is framed. Okay, fine, GPT. Post-processing HLSL shader. It renders, camera control buffer is passed to your shader, you modify pixels, and UI draws after. So basically, if we do it in post-processing, it connects with everything else. If we do it in UI, it is separated and disconnected. One clean full pass, easy to stack with other effects, predictable behavior, but it's more setup and understanding render features. Yes, you're going to explain those render features. Anything that's visual, okay. So side by side, pipeline, HDR, bloom, order control, scalability, future effects. Basically it's telling us to do post-processing, to go the post-processing way, even though they might look identical in the beginning. Canvas is worse for performance. Post-processing is one pass, multiple canvases or rebuilds cost more than a single render pass. Something that might later combine with blur. Okay. And now can you tell me, let's do post-processing, give me all the steps and write the shader in a professional manner. Make sure it's like written by a senior or something. Senior. And I need to get this. Okay, great. To just take it and put it back in Unity. Picking post-processing, which might be better for the future. LS Unity 6.2 plus URP. Didn't I already tell it 6.2? Well, I didn't tell it about URP, but yeah, that's defaulted. Create URP renderer feature, inject the full screen render pass, write a clean HLSL shader, drive parameters from gameplay codes. The order, this is the correct architecture, and the order we're going to have to build everything. So we're going to need danger vignette feature script, danger vignette pass script, and danger vignette shader. Not just one script, because this is where it can get messy. Okay, so it's taking a render pass event and a shader. It's creating the shader and adding the render pass, which is basically saying like draw the thing. The render pass is basically the danger vignette, which is going to be animated in another class. Perfect. Which extends the scriptable render pass, not a mono behavior. And this one was also not a mono behavior, but a scriptable render feature, which are more advanced stuff. And the render pass is just executing some effects. Gameplay side controller, danger vignette controller, and I think it did a mistake. No, it did not. It's okay. Yeah, because I saw the update and I was thinking it doesn't have mono behavior, but it's not that update. And the shader, which has standard stuff. Gets the center, gets the distance from the center, calculates the vignette, the pulse. No magic numbers, clear variables, no unnecessary branching, smooth step, how to hook it up. We're going to have to do some setup. And great. Okay. Let's take the shader it gave us. Create shader URP unlit. I want this to be danger vignette. How did I write that badly? And for the danger vignette, we're going to plug in what it gave us and do a quick check. Wait, where are the parameters? It did give me parameters, right? Okay, let's just see what happens. And I have a weird feeling in my stomach for some reason. Maybe it's just something that's done differently. Because this is not going to work with the standard material. We don't even need to make it work with the standard material. We need to configure the other scripts. Let's do a folder for danger. And let's start with the beginning. We're just going to create whatever script, because it doesn't really matter for Unity. We can just replace mono behavior later. And it's loading. I wonder. I mean, I still don't like the way it's doing all the scripts, because it's not really keeping up with all the naming convention, like putting underscores and other stuff like that. And yeah, it seems to we want to compile. And I would have loved to actually put all the code in and then let it compile, but it's just going to do this every single time. Maybe I can just find the file inside the editor. Okay, nice. Yeah, it's doing weird stuff when it wants to do weird stuff, but just we just let it. So we did the render feature. Yes, just replace whatever you want to replace. Wow. Okay. We did the render feature. We also need to do the render pass. Which actually executes and calculates the way it does the effects. And naming was danger vignette. No, I did not want to do that. Please stop compiling. Create danger vignette, pass, and copy codes. And we also have the controller. And here's where I want to do some clarifications, because we want to make sure we know what we're dealing with. And I forgot what this one was named. danger vignette controller, and we're just going to input this. This is more copy pasting than I would have wanted, but I do want to actually see how far I can take it at some points. But let's do this. What is a render feature, render pass, and controller? Just to, you're asking for the definitions after the code. Yes, I'm trying to understand what's going on. Thank you very much. No, this is how you clarify things. This is how you go in depth. Stop judging me. Big picture. URP is rendering. Unity's URP rendering is a pipeline. URP comes from Universal Rendering Pipeline, doesn't it? So basically it's the way frames move through it. You insert the steps, and the steps are rendering passes. The features insert the rendering passes, and the thing that feeds them data from gameplay is your controller. So the controller creates the connection between the gameplay and the render features. The render feature is the configuration. And decides when they run, if they exist, the render passes. It exists because you should not modify the renderer directly. Yeah, basically just plug and play a new visual effects, stuff like that. Wait, let me just render pass is a single step in the rendering pipeline. So it does not care about the logic of the game, but it decides what to do and what to render within a specific frame. This is where the pixels actually get touched. So render feature is when and how, and render pass actually touches the feature. It has a defined place in the pipeline, runs every frame, and does a specific thing. A controller decides how to convert the gameplay logic into rendering. It's basically a translator. How they work together. The feature is in the asset. It creates the pass. The pass draws the texture, and the controller tells it how to connect to the gameplay. Okay, so basically, what? Okay, nothing else. Basically, this is what it was telling us about this setup. Yeah, it's giving us details about why we want certain stuff the way that it's giving it us. Yeah, and the controller is doing static stuff. Yeah, we can circle back to that. Everything is static because if you put everything as static, stuff might break at one point. Let's hook up the entire solution. Open the URP render asset. So going back to Unity, to find the render asset, there's usually a folder called settings, and by default it's using the PC renderer. Add danger vignette feature. To add the feature, there's a button the bottom of the screen, and we have the new danger vignette feature which we just created, and it's already throwing us an error. Okay, the shader is missing. Was this error? Yes, this error is from now when we just added. Okay, because it added without the shader. We need to create, here is where we create the connection. But did it tell us? Assign the shader. Yes, we are assigning the shader. Thank you. Save. Set a renderer event to after rendering post processing. So basically part of the post-processing thing. Before rendering shadows, after rendering shadows, before rendering opaques, skybox, transparent. Yeah, so basically these are all the passes that is doing. Wait, so how do I add this? It is already added. Is it already in the game? Because I never actually did add. You can only call camera core target inside the scope of a scriptable render pass. Authorize the pipeline. Main camera. So it has post-processing enabled. And level. No, the level were just the objects. Environment. Okay, global volume. And global volume we're adding an override. Is this right? GPT. Okay, let's go back to this. What do I do after this? So after all the steps that it gave us, we actually need to do more steps. Let's confirm the pass is running. First of all, hard code this into the controller. We are hard coding stuff for the purposes of testing. And I think, where am I supposed to put this? No, wait, these are the fields for the controller. And the controller was used inside the pass, right? Okay, so we just default all the values to something simple, and then I hit play. Okay, I wait for it to compile. Drive it from the gameplay. I don't have gameplay right now. Tune the shader and make it not boring. Yeah, this is the actually interesting part that we might have wanted. Combine effects on the same pass. Test edge cases, decide when you should not run. Okay, yeah, thank you for all the advice. 67 errors, excellent. And all from the same shader probably. Okay, so do you want to work? No, you do not want to work, do you? The render pass does not have implementation. Record, render graph. Please implement this method. You can only call that method inside the scope of a renderer. Oh god, it's not working. Is it? I mean, this happens when you vibe code everything. Nothing works. Okay, let's understand now what's going on and why it's showing us 57, 8, 9 errors every second. And please, GPT, save me. Please help me. What's going on? You try to call camera caller target handle inside scriptable render pass. The pipeline camera target texture might not have been created or might have been disposed. So there is no texture to actually connect to. And a bunch of stuff, we don't know what's happening. So this is a lifecycle rule. You touch the camera texture at the wrong time. You can only call that inside the scope of a scriptable render pass. And URP hasn't created the camera control texture, or it has destroyed it. So we cannot grab it. It cannot grab the texture to actually draw what we wanted. What you did wrong? I did not do. I mean, the only thing that I did wrong was to copy paste the code and not ask you line by line what all these things do. But Yeah, in my defense, this would have taken us till morning probably to just clarify every single step. So let's just learn how to fix the errors, because the more errors we get, the more we learn, basically. Because we are getting into new situations. So in the render feature, I copied this pass setup, okay, and let me just, this is the feature, and this is the pass setup, which is highlighted and is obsolete. The rendering path for compatibility mode only. Okay, so then we have like a whole nother problem where, tell me I can copy this. No? Oh my god, why is every software so horrible? That used to work in older URP versions. In the new URP version, which I told you to use, that property is only valid when the pass is executing. So basically Unity changed stuff around. GPT was combining things from all over the place. It ignored the context. I think it might be getting stupider again. We grabbed the camera too early. To fix it, we need to stop the camera target. And just enqueue the pass. So we no longer need the setup. We just deal with the pass. The change fix the render pass properly. So it wrote us 5 paragraphs of what to do in the feature, and then it gave us a new script for the render pass. What are you doing? Fix the render pass. Why are you fixing the render pass? Okay, so the key change is that this line moved inside execute. So I'm guessing that there was a line. Does it have deprecated everywhere? No, it does not. Oh, so basically it took the previous line and moved it here. RT handle. Yeah, to get the camera handle to be able to draw stuff. And the code is quite different also. Because, okay, let's do comparison, because I want to understand what is changed. It's used the same setup for the properties, and then it issued a command. It then called this method, which is deprecated, and then it the texture and it executed. Okay. Why Unity enforces it? A bunch of reasons that we can actually study. And okay, but it was telling us it is deprecated. No, not this one. I totally... Yeah, let me get this back. Because I wanted to give it the complete errors so it has some context. And give us more information. Okay, so I don't need this. I remove it. And I get the handle from here. And now with your new solution, we have this. Did it? Paste twice. And by the way, let's also see what's actually going on in the editor. Clearing all the errors. And nothing bad or broken. And then I hit play and nothing happens because I am getting a warning. Render pass does not have implementation of record render graph method. Please implement this method or consider turning on compatibility modes. We are also going to copy this and ask it to tell us more. Yeah, there were some changes within the render graph. It means that they're obsolete. URP has now two rendering paths, compatibility and render graph. The target handle still works for compatibility mode. But yeah, I want to use the new better option. Do it properly with render graph, which removes the handler and gives us a correct way to do it. If this is a learning project or prototype, ignore. If this is a long-lived project, then well, it's not working, so I guess we need to do this. Okay, so the feature namespace does not correspond. Okay, that's not really a problem. The feature is done completely different. And render pass Unity render graph. Wait, this was the pass, right? Yeah. The pass has now a new implementation. And the blitter has an error, whatever the blitter is. Okay, so it's basically telling us a bunch of stuff. Cannot resolve methods. This is I don't want to say it's bad because it's not bad, but yeah, I mean, even learning this from scratch, with the documentation on Google, still lead to some trial and error. This error is legitimate. Okay, so can you give me something that actually works? Maybe. Okay, so there's a new blitter. Correct senior level fix. Okay, let's see what you broke this time. We have a vignette pass and we have no errors. And we still need to research and understand whatever it is that happened. But yeah, as I was saying, this is going to take till morning if we actually research everything. It compiles, vignette appears, and the warning is gone. Yeah, that's just to write a warning, nothing to trip us. Was that an error? Okay. And nothing happens because hopefully we just need to give some values to those intensity stuff. The shader is missing again. It's missing because probably it's changed the variable names, so it's no longer registered. Okay, so now nothing works, but at the same time nothing happens. I'm getting no errors, which no errors is a step forward. And yeah, I was looking where this get set, and I think intensity and pulse were just set to 1 for testing purposes. The color can just be whatever, I guess it's already red. To some extent, part of this is at least boilerplate code. Like it's standard. If I want to do another effect, I might have to just copy paste and rewrite or reuse the same things. And the shader is not working. And good luck trying to figure out tonight what's wrong with it. Let's just do one more try. And if this doesn't work, we are going to go on next time step by step and actually try to figure out what each of those things does and where it messed up, because it keeps telling me that I messed up. Like, it's guilting me for the code that it wrote, so maybe that I don't take the code again. So it's not working. Like, showing nothing but code fine, no error. Everything compiles perfectly. The pass is running. The GPU is not drawing anything visible. Add the command buffer debug clear at the start of your render function. The start of the render function would be this, and the context would be, where did you define this? Okay, here. If the screen turns magenta, the pass is running. Yeah, so this is the legit steps to actually debug something. Like, go step by step and see where things are failing. And it turns magenta, which means that the shader is actually, the pass is actually running. So this is fine. If the screen is magenta, the pass is running. It did. And it gives us possible problems. Make sure the material shader is valid. If the shader is null or combination silently failed, the pass draws nothing. Test with a solid color. Okay, so we are going to go into the shader now. And instead of doing all the calculations, we are just going to return a solid red. Is this the only return you're using? Okay, so the shader is failing. Conclusion. If it's still black, pass isn't executing or attachment is wrong. Why is it attached? Okay, so it's attached here. Can I put another shader? What happens if I put another shader? Nothing. I don't know, I'm just curious, testing stuff randomly, apparently. In render graph, does not automatically bind it for reading and writing. So we have the shader, which at this point is solid red, and we are going to use builder use texture in render graph. So set render attachment, is that what you were using? Okay, and use texture. And it's compiling and compiling and compiling, and it broke completely. Okay, that wasn't, or Corutils draw full screen. Full screen draw issues. Double check your shader. Pass index 0 corresponds to your pass only if you add more than ID changes. So I need to go and check it. So it has the name, HLSL program, okay, and control values. Recommending debugging order, okay. Let's see, so this fails. This is the one that fails. What should we do? Pass is never returned to the screen. So we cannot just set attachment. Full screen draw may not be okay. And how do I fix it? I just draw full screen. Okay. So we're going back to set render function. We are going to dismiss everything. And we are going to draw the context and the material. And that's it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And if it works, it works. And we're doing a clear. And run the game. Did I not? Yeah, there is something obviously somewhere that fails. And this is not it. Well, we did do somewhat of a setup and the start of danger vignette, and we can actually try to understand how GPT or go beyond GPT to actually get some help to fix this problem and see what pattern we can use to put everything together. So see you next week, and hopefully we can get this one fixed. Have a nice evening.